people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
What's up, champ? It's Dub from Stockton. Do you ever see yourself get in a fight with Shields? If so, what would your mental state look like leading up to the fight? Much love, champ.
That's a good question. We wanted that fight for July 11th.
Oh wow,
You know,
that for as early as
we
July 11th.
yeah. We had some back and forth on Twitter because she said she wanted to crack my head and that her team had sent us offer. So I reached out, to Nikisa and I said, listen, man, she keeps saying this, and he's like, he kept it real, like, there's no offer. They don't have the budget. So I'm like, what can we do? Like, can we? He's like, yeah, see if she would want to come and be co-main Amanda and Katie. We'll offer life-changing money, and let's make it happen. So I say, yo, have your team contact my team. We ready. We waited. She said she was gonna pull up the receipts of the offer, and she said that I was not she's not a co-main fighter, and that I have to wait my turn, and she'd rather fight Franchon first, so I left it alone.
More confirmation of a story that we talked about a few weeks ago, that MVP made a play to bring Claressa over to fight not just on the undercard, but in the co-main event of Serrano versus Taylor 3 that likely would have got Claressa more money than she stands to make headlining a Salida promotion, which is comparatively smaller, much smaller. Unbeknownst to most, unbeknownst to many a Claressa Shields fan, she actually boxed on somebody's undercard before. She boxed on the undercard of Breakus versus Reese back when HBO was still in boxing. Cecilia Breakus was the headliner, and Claressa had no aversion to boxing on her undercard, though granted, that was many years ago, and many years later, a lot has happened and a lot has been said. Her pride won't let her do it. I actually spoke to Amanda about this months ago, and I told her that Claressa won't go for it. It doesn't matter what you offer her because she's a bonehead. She's an idiot. She resents you and Katie too much to box on your undercard.
I had no clue it could have been on that Netflix card. Damn. That
Yeah,
been huge.
I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of going back and forth, and she was like, I'm not no co-main fighter. Why would I need to be co-main to Amanda Serrano and Katie and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but Salido don't have the budget to pay both of us. Like, not Salido, but Salido Promotions. Like, come on, they got the budget to pay you, but they don't have the budget to pay us.
That's what I thought. The fight with Jadeja pays out more on the MVP Netflix side of things than it would if Salida were doing it. Salida's gonna offer Jadeja peanuts on the dollar, like what they offer most of Claressa's opponents. Jadeja mentioned Franchon Cruz in passing, so is Claressa Shields' next fight a rematch with Franchon? Could be a rematch with her because Jadeja mentioned her, but there also happen to be two lesser-known light heavyweight champions that Claressa might also fight in her very next fight. Inexpensive fighters. They ain't got no profile. Compared to them, Jadeja Green is more well-known. Accenting what I'm always telling you, that the names all start to sound the same after a while because there really isn't a lot to choose from at those weights up there where Claressa campaigns. These girls need each other. Jadeja Green seems to understand that, but Claressa still doesn't, while sitting on her high horse. Too much pride to box on Amanda and Katie's undercut. Fine, it's your loss, more than theirs.
So let's go on the biggest female fight card ever. It's crazy you didn't know. Like, the Zone did a thing on it too about me calling her out and saying that. So I'm not ducking or dodging anybody. And
Damn.
MVP is about making the huge fights happen on the biggest platforms. And
Reacting to the story, a Twitter user that goes by the name E4 Repertoire said, Shields is 100% correct. It's disrespectful to even inquire of the best female boxer in the sport to be on an undercard, to which the Boxing Voice replied, Shakur Stevenson, David Benavidez, Boots Ennis, and Devin Haney have all appeared on undercards.
And I don't think Mr. Repertoire knows that so has she. She boxed on Cecilia Brækhus' undercard for less money than she was being offered now. So she's just stupid.
Another Twitter user that goes by the name Gorilla Smoke said, they intentionally disrespected Claressa. That offer was to troll her even more. They are playing games.
Now, which one of these two idiots do you think is going to go to Clarissa's next fight? I don't think either of them are going to attend Claressa Shields' next fight. What these two guys represent is a vocal minority that isn't actually good for anything because they don't spend any money. They're not going to her fight, and I don't even think they're going to watch it on TV. I think it's just more virtue signaling from those who would continue to enable Claressa Shields' counterproductive behavior, counterintuitive.
The situation is not tenable. Claressa Shields cannot get out of her own way long enough to capitalize off a major opportunity.
But that's her prerogative. If she thinks she's too good to box on Amanda and Katie's undercard, whatever!
They ended up giving that slot to the voluptuous Alicia Baumgartner, who now stands to benefit from boxing on that major platform, on Netflix. A level of exposure that far exceeds even the DAZN platform.
And Jadeja?
Well, it's a missed opportunity for Claressa, but it is also a missed opportunity for Jadeja because she could have been on that undercard. What MVP might want to move to do now is see about getting her a Savannah Marshall fight.
What is the second most recognizable fighter at these weights, second only to Claressa? I told you, the names all start to sound the same after a while because there are not that many women at those weights.
Not a lot to choose from to make a high-profile fight.
So you know. It is what it is. Another glaring example of how Claressa Shields is her own worst enemy.
Men's super flyweight news. Jesse Rodriguez to fight Fumalele Cafu in unification bout July 19th. That's the same day as Usyk versus Dubois.
Set to be a big day on the DAZN platform.
One of the most exciting young fighters in boxing will be back in action this summer. Jesse Bam Rodriguez, 21-0 with 14 KOs, will face South Africa's Fumalele Cafu, 11-0 with 3 draws, 8 knockouts, in a junior bantamweight unification bout on July 19th at the Stars Ford Center in Frisco, Texas. Rodriguez currently holds the WBC title while Cafu is the WBO champion. Fighting out of San Antonio, Rodriguez is a two-weight champion who has actively sought a fight against another champion in the junior bantamweight division. He captured the WBC title with a 7th-round knockout of Gallo Estrada last June and had a successful title defense in November when he scored a 3rd-round TKO against Pedro Guevara. Bam, 25, is ranked number 7 on ESPN's pound-for-pound list and owns wins over Sonny Edwards, Sor Rungvisai, and Carlos Cuadras. He'll stand opposite of Cafu, who captured the WBO title by upsetting then-champion Kosei Tanaka with a split decision last October in Tokyo. Cafu, 30, was previously linked to a potential showdown with Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez for his first defense, but those plans fell through. Now, he will get the opportunity to unify titles against one of the best fighters in the sport.
In the co-main event is a super middleweight showdown between Diego Pacheco, 23-0 with 18 KOs, and Trevor McCumbee, 28-1 with 21 KOs. Pacheco, 24, is coming off a unanimous decision win over then unbeaten Steven Nelson in January. He is ESPN's number 4 ranked super middleweight. McCumbee, 32, hopes to bounce back after suffering the first defeat of his career against Caleb Plant. last year.
We knew that fight was coming. We knew that was in the works.
After the collapse of what was supposed to be the Christian Mabili fight for Diego, now it's going to be Trevor McCumbee, over to the main event and what is a battle of the Southpaws. Jesse Bam Rodriguez is a Southpaw, so is Fumalela Cafu.
Both are unbeaten champions, and while Jesse is the more experienced and more decorated fighter of the two, he would be wise not to underestimate Fumalela Cafu, who only became a champion by beating the odds and upsetting Kosei Tanaka on his own home turf in Japan.
Now he's fighting Bam in his.
So this should satisfy what people have wanted to see from Bam Rodriguez, who holds wins over some of the most recognizable fighters at super flyweight, albeit past their best and past their prime. People have wanted to see Bam fight somebody a bit younger. Enter Fumalele Cafu.
But yeah, he's got a win over Quadras, but Quadras was past his prime. So was Sorung Visai. So was Gallo.
Now, Sonny Edwards wasn't past his prime. He was an unbeaten fighter, but that win in and of itself doesn't seem to satisfy what people want from Bam. So hopefully this is a step in that direction.
Now, while the Cafu fight is a good fight, and I like it, it's not the very best fight to make at super flyweight. The very best fight to make would have to be between the winner of this fight and the winner of the upcoming Ioka versus Martinez rematch.
There are currently 3 reigning champions at this weight. Bam Rodriguez is one, Cafu is another, and Puma Martinez, at least for the time being, is yet another. And he's about to box Kazuto Ioka, former champion, for the second time. I would like to see the winners meet before this year is out.
Puma's got the WBA, Bam's got the WBC, Fumalele has the WBO, and the IBF title is still registered as being vacant. It's the funniest thing, because that title used to belong to Puma Martinez, but the IBF was in such a rush to strip him of it. For going through with an Ioka rematch, you may as well have let him keep it, because after all these months, you still haven't crowned a new IBF champion.
I'll tell you what I would like to see. I would like to see Matchroom petition the IBF to have that vacant title on the line in Bam's fight. Why not? I remember they did that years ago ahead of the Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko fight. They petitioned the WBA to allow the vacant title to be on the line in that fight, and the WBA obliged them. Would the IBF do the same thing in this situation? They might.
Can't hurt to try.
Especially when the end game is seeing Bam crowned this division's undisputed champion. That would bring him a lot closer, just one fight away after the Cafu fight, that all he'd have to do is take care of business with Cafu, and he'd be one fight away from fighting for undisputed. There's a lot of time.
We are just now entering the month of May, and between now and July 19th, there's enough time there to maybe see if the IBF will play ball.
So things are heating up in the super flyweight division the way they need to, because I've been waiting for unification matches to happen, and they are underway. This is very good news. Now for some not so good news. Justice Huni, Michael Hunter, and Philippe Hrgovic are in the running to face Fabio Wardley after Jarrell Miller withdraws. Jarrell Miller has officially withdrawn from his contest with fellow heavyweight contender Fabio Wardley on June 7th, citing a shoulder injury. Boxing Scene has learned that Justice Huni, Philippe Hrgovic, and Michael Hunter are in the running to replace him, with Huni leading the way. The bout was to be for the WBA's vacant interim heavyweight title at Ipswich Town Football Club's Portman Road Stadium in England. Queensbury Promotions are keen to ensure Wardley, a devout Ipswich fan and the WBA's #1 contender, still fights at the outdoor venue against a ranked opponent. News of Miller's withdrawal was first reported on Tuesday by No Smoke Boxing, but on Wednesday, a source close to negotiations told Boxing Scene, "We were told 3 days ago that he'd suffered a minor injury to his shoulder and he was taking a break from sparring, but that was it. It wouldn't be a surprise if he'd pulled out without telling everyone, though." The news came that event organizers feared was coming a few hours later. Getting an opponent for Wardley has long proved difficult. Before Miller came failed negotiations with WBA regular champion Kubrat Pulev. The sanctioning body then approved Queensberry's request to reintroduce their interim strap and award it to the winner of Wardley versus Miller, moving Miller 6 places up their rankings in the process. Australia's Huni, unranked by the WBA because he holds the WBO Global title, is thought to be the frontrunner. Should he relinquish that title, then he could claim a ranking with the WBA and be eligible to fight for the interim title. Croatia's Filip Hrgovic, ranked 7th by the WBA, is fresh off a grueling victory over Joe Joyce in April, and this opportunity might have come too soon. Michael Hunter, rated 2nd by the WBA, has been in talks to challenge Pulev. Miller was forced out of a shot at Anthony Joshua back in June of 2019 when he failed 2 drug tests. He would fail another while plotting his return the following year, and has not fought since he held to a draw by Andy Ruiz in August of last year. Bit of a run of bad luck for Jarrell Big Gravy Miller. I can think of one other fight that fell through for Jarrell, one big one.
Big hungry.
In recent memory, he was in talks to face Derek Chisora last year, but a contractual dispute with Dimitri Salita saw that fight fall through. Now this one just fell through, but for different reasons. Not because of a contract dispute, but because he got injured.
Big hungry.
Big Gravy. It's unfortunate because I was looking forward to that fight. That fight seemed intriguing to me because in spite of the run of form that Fabio Wardley's been on, a lot of his bigger wins, like the David Adilier win, or the win over Frazier Clark, those are still at domestic level, whereas Jarrell Miller is a more seasoned professional than those fighters were. I wasn't sure that Fabio was going to make it through this fight.
Big gravy!
The latest from veteran boxing scribe Dan Raphael seems to indicate that Filip Hrgovic has already accepted the offer from Queensberry, and it's now up to Flavio to pick between Filip Hrgovic and Justice Huni, the other candidate.
Huni!
Justice Huni, an amateur standout and an unbeaten fighter like Fabio, is an unbeaten fighter. I mean, that guy needs more of a profile boost, doesn't he? A Fabio Wardley fight would be the biggest fight that he's been in, but I'm not sure they're gonna go with him.
Philippe has already accepted an offer from Queensberry. All Fabio has to do is oblige him. And when you think about the fight that Philippe just had with Joe Joyce, that wasn't easy.
It was a grueling 10 rounds with Joe Joyce because the fight went the distance, and because Filip Hrgovic got hit a lot in that fight. You could argue that he's tenderized, that he may not have fully recovered from what he endured in that fight, making him perhaps more appealing than someone else. He doesn't have a lot of time to prepare. It's supposed to all go down in June. They're trying to save the date.
And if the Zhang fight showed us anything, and the Joyce fight showed us anything, and the Daniel Dubois fight, it's that Filip Hrgovic is slow, cumbersome, flawed, and he can be beaten, whereas Fabio Wardley, comparatively, he doesn't come from the same amateur background as Filip Hrgovic.
All he has is a few white-collar fights in terms of amateur experience, but look at what he did when he came up against an Olympian in Frazier Clark. Frazier, who has the amateur background that Fabio doesn't have.
So maybe Team Wardley decide to go with Hrgovic because he's a bit more well-known than Justice Huni. We know he's flawed. We know that he can be beaten. He's slow as molasses.
He seems to be on board. Maybe they go with him, and I don't mind that. I mean, I don't mind either fight. Wardley versus Huni or Wardley versus Hrgovic is all fine by me.
But I've the sneaking suspicion that Team Wardley may go in the direction of a Filip Hrgovic fight. We'll see.